Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is Mr. Uncanny. I post daily uncanny and mystery videos. Make sure to subscribe to my channel to not miss any creepy content like this anyways. So apparently you guys are here because you don't know the mystery behind these pictures. He is Epstein, and he was the American financier and sex born and raised in New York City. Epstein began his professional life by teaching at the Dalton School despite lacking a college degree. After his dismissal from the school, he entered the banking and finance sector, working at Bear Stearns in various roles before starting his own firm. Epstein developed an elite social circle and procured many women and children whom he and his associates used. Epstein was a rich millionaire who was into young girls, and he had pimped out a bunch of young teenagers and young girls to famous celebrities. He owned his huge big island where famous celebrities would pick out what little young girl they wanted to molest. In 2005, police in Palm Beach, Florida, began investigating Epstein after a parent reported that he had her 14-year-old daughter. Federal officials had identified 36 girls, some as young as 14 years old, whom Epstein had allegedly sexted. Epstein pleaded guilty and was convicted in 2008 by a Florida state court of procuring a child for prostitution and of soliciting a prostitute. He was convicted of only these two crimes as part of a controversial plea deal and served almost 13 months in custody, but with extensive work release. Epstein was arrested again on July 6, 2019, on federal charges of minors in Florida and New York. He died in his jail cell on August 10, 2019. The medical examiner ruled that his death was a suicide by hanging, but Epstein's lawyers have disputed the ruling. There were rumors that Epstein was murdered because he was going to turn state evidence and let everybody know, all the celebrities, politicians, other millionaires, and billionaires, and release all their names to get a lighter sentence for himself. But either way, the feds got a hold of the list, and the list is scheduled to be released soon to the public. Now, this Stephen Hawking was one of many famous people who is on this list. Now, some celebrities claim they just went there for a good time. Since Epstein's death precluded the possibility of pursuing criminal charges against him, a judge dismissed all criminal charges on August 29, 2019. Epstein had a decades-long association with the British socialite Ghislaine Maxwell, leading to her 2021 conviction on U.S. federal charges of stalking and conspiracy for helping him procure girls, including a 14-year-old, for child sex and prostitution. There were mentions of Epstein's past friendship with Bill Clinton and of Britain's Prince Andrew, who previously settled a lawsuit accusing him of having sex with the 17-year-old girl who traveled with Epstein. Amid great hype, a new batch of previously secret court documents was unsealed late on January 3 related to Jeffrey Epstein, the jet-setting financier who killed himself in 2019 while waiting trial on charges. Social media has been rife in recent weeks, with posts speculating the documents amounted to a list of rich and powerful men who were Epstein's clients or co-conspirators. There was no such list. The first 40 documents in the court-ordered release largely consisted of already public material revealed through nearly 2 decades of newspaper stories, TV documentaries, interviews, legal cases, and books about the Epstein scandal. Still, the records, including transcripts of interviews with some of Epstein's victims and old police reports, contained reminders that the millionaire surrounded himself with famous and powerful figures, including a few who have also been accused of misconduct. There were mentions of Epstein's past friendship with Bill Clinton, who is not accused of any wrongdoing, and of Britain's Prince Andrew, who previously settled a lawsuit accusing him of having sex with a 17-year-old girl who traveled with Epstein. Epstein accuser Johanna Schoberg testified in a newly released deposition that she once met Michael Jackson at Epstein's Palm Beach, Florida home, but that nothing untoward happened with the late pop icon. The documents being unsealed are related to a lawsuit filed in 2015 by one of Epstein's victims, Virginia Giuffre. She is one of dozens of women who sued Epstein for abusing them at his homes in Florida, New York, the U.S. Virgin Islands, and New Mexico. This suit was against Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein's former girlfriend, who is now serving a 20-year prison term for helping recruit and abuse his victims. Ms. Giuffre's lawsuit was settled in 2017, but the court had kept some documents blacked out or sealed because of concerns about the privacy rights of Epstein's victims and others whose names had come up during the legal battle. More documents were to be released in coming days. Among newly unsealed records were court memos in which Ms. Giuffre's lawyers complained that some women who had worked for Epstein were proving difficult to serve with subpoenas, as was Epstein himself. Two of those women had invoked their Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination when questioned in other lawsuits about whether they had helped procure young women for Epstein to abuse. Maxwell, in her deposition, chaffed at being asked about Ms. Giuffre's allegations that she had arranged for her to have sexual encounters with Prince Andrew. She also reacted angrily to being asked about whether she had purchased sex toys or revealing outfits, or seen young, topless women at Epstein's home. One former member of Epstein's domestic staff said in a deposition that he felt uncomfortable with the number of young women showing up at the house, and felt threatened by Maxwell to stay quiet. Other documents included legal arguments over whether Ms. Giuffre should be allowed more time to depose potential witnesses, including Mr. Clinton. Ms. Giuffre never alleged he was involved in illegal behavior, but her attorneys said the former president was a key person who can provide information about his close relationship with Maxwell and Epstein. Maxwell's attorneys countered that Mr. Clinton's testimony was not relevant. The records included depositions of several Epstein victims, many of whom have told their stories publicly previously. In her May 2016 deposition, Schoberg described going to a dinner at one of Epstein's homes, also attended by magician David Copperfield. She said Mr. Copperfield did magic tricks before asking if she was aware that girls were getting paid to find other girls. One of the key allegations against Epstein and Maxwell was that some of the girls he paid for sex acts then acted as recruiters to find him other victims. Schoberg said, Mr. Copperfield didn't get more specific about what he meant. A publicist for Mr. Copperfield did not immediately respond to an email seeking comment. Schoberg also shed new light on an April 2001 trip to New York in which she said Prince Andrew touched her breast while they posed for a photo at Epstein's Manhattan townhouse. In the testimony, some of which appeared as excerpts in previous court filings, Schoberg said she and Ms. Giuffre had flown with Epstein to New York on his private jet. Maxwell and Prince Andrew met them there. At one point, she testified, Maxwell called her to an upstairs closet where they pulled out a puppet of Prince Andrew that had been made for a television program. It looked like him, Schoberg said, and she brought it down and presented it to him. And that was a great joke, because apparently, it was a production from a show on BBC, and they decided to take a picture with it, in which Virginia and Andrew sat on a couch. They put the puppet on Virginia's lap, and I sat on Andrew's lap, and they put the puppet's hand on Virginia's breast, and Andrew put his hand on my breast, and they took a photo. On the way to New York, Schoberg testified, Epstein's jet diverted to Atlantic City, New Jersey, and spent a few hours at one of Donald Trump's casinos, because of bad weather. Upon hearing the change of plans, Schoberg recalled Epstein saying, "Great, we'll call up Trump, and we'll go to the casino." Schoberg wasn't asked if they'd met up with Mr. Trump that night. Later in her testimony, she said she was never asked to give Mr. Trump a massage. Schoberg also testified that though she never met Mr. Clinton, Epstein once remarked to her that Clinton likes them young, a remark she took as a reference to young women or girls. Mr. Clinton has previously said through a spokesperson that while he traveled on Epstein's jet several times, he never visited his homes, had no knowledge of his crimes, and hadn't spoken to him since his conviction. Trump has also said that he once thought Epstein was a terrific guy, but that they later had a falling out. In her deposition, Ms. Giuffre said the summer she turned 17, she was lured away from a job as a spa attendant at Mr. Trump's Mar-a-Lago club to become a masseuse for Epstein, a job that involved performing sexual acts. She settled a lawsuit against Prince Andrew in 2022 in which she claimed he had sexually abused her during a trip to London. That same year, Ms. Giuffre withdrew an accusation she had made against Epstein's former attorney, law professor Ellen Dershowitz, saying she may have made a mistake in identifying him as an abuser. The records released Wednesday included many references to Jean-Luc Brunel, a French modeling agent close to Epstein, who was awaiting trial on charges that he raped girls when he killed himself in a Paris jail in 2022. Miss Giuffre was among the women who had accused Brunel of sexual abuse. Mr. Clinton's name came up because Miss Giuffre was questioned by Maxwell's lawyers about inaccuracies in newspaper reports about her time with Epstein, including a story quoting her as saying she had ridden in a helicopter with Mr. Clinton and flirted with Mr. Trump. Giuffre said neither of those things actually happened. The judge said a handful of names should remain blacked out in the documents because they would identify people who were. The Associated Press does not typically identify people who say they are victims of unless they decide to tell their stories publicly, as Miss Giuffre and Schoberg have done. Even before the documents were released, misinformation about what was in them abounded. Social media users wrongly claimed that late-night host Jimmy Kimmel's name might appear in the documents, spurred by a cracked New York Jets quarterback Aaron Rodgers made Tuesday on ESPN's The Pat McAfee Show. Well, if you are still here, I really appreciate you for watching the full video. It took me a whole day make a video on this topic. Keep supporting to me, thank you. What is your opinion on this? Comment below. Thanks for watching the video. For more uncanny incidents like this, subscribe to my channel and check out my Instagram account for more such content.